The sky was dark, heavy with rain. Thunder roared across the city like the angry growl of some giant beast. Lightning flashed, lighting up the streets for just a moment. In the middle of this storm, a man named Jack walked carefully along the cracked sidewalk. He was a kind man, known by his neighbors as someone who always helped when others needed it. Jack was not afraid of the storm. He moved quickly, his coat pulled tight around him, eyes sharp for anything unusual. Jack lived in a near-future world. Technology was everywhere, but the city still held dangers. The rain made the roads slippery, and the wind pushed hard against him. Yet, something pulled Jack forward, something he could not explain. Suddenly, he heard a soft, weak sound. It was a faint whimper, almost lost in the sound of the rain. Jack stopped. His heart quickened. He looked around. There, near a broken fence, he saw a small shape curled up and trembling. He hurried closer, stepping carefully over puddles. When he reached the spot, Jack saw an animal. It was unlike anything he had ever seen before. Its fur was wet and matted. The creature was small, about the size of a dog, but its skin shimmered faintly under the rain. Jack knelt down slowly. The animal's chest moved up and down, but its breathing was shallow and fast. It looked hurt, and Jack's heart sank. But what caught his attention most were the eyes. They were large and deep, almost human. There was fear in those eyes, but also a silent plea for help. Without hesitation, Jack wrapped his coat around the animal and picked it up gently. The creature pressed its head against his chest, struggling to stay awake. "Don't worry," Jack whispered, his voice calm and steady. "I'm going to help you." He carried the animal home through the storm. The rain was relentless, soaking him to the bone, but Jack did not stop. He knew he had to act fast. When Jack reached his small apartment, he laid the creature on a soft blanket. He pulled out a first aid kit and began to check the wounds. There were cuts and bruises, but nothing seemed to explain the strange shimmer on its fur. Jack looked closely. The skin under the wet fur was smooth and strange. He saw a faint glow like a soft light under the surface. It was beautiful and eerie at the same time. As he worked, the animal suddenly moved. It let out a soft, unusual sound. Jack froze. His eyes met the creature's again, and he saw something new, a quick flash of intelligence. For a moment, Jack felt like the animal was trying to say something, but he could not understand the language. The storm outside grew louder, but inside the room, there was a quiet connection. Jack felt his heart open to this strange being. Over the next hour, Jack fed the animal some water. It drank slowly, but the breathing did not improve. The creature's chest still rose and fell rapidly, like it was fighting for air. Jack's mind raced. What kind of animal was this? He had never seen anything like it. No animal from Earth looked like this or acted this way. Suddenly, the creature's eyes flickered. Jack saw the faint glow again, this time brighter. It moved along the animal's side like a small light traveling just under the skin. Jack leaned closer. He could see it clearly, now a soft, glowing mark, shaped like a delicate symbol. It was not a wound. It was part of the creature itself. "Who are you?" Jack whispered. The animal blinked slowly. It reached out a paw, touching Jack's hand. The skin was warm despite the cold rain outside. Jack felt a shiver run down his spine. This was no ordinary animal. He thought about calling someone for help, but something inside told him not to. This creature needed him alone. The night grew deeper. Outside, the rain slowed, and the thunder faded into distant echoes. Inside, Jack sat beside the strange animal, watching over it carefully, his mind filled with questions. Where did this creature come from? How did it get hurt? And most importantly, what did the glowing mark mean? Jack knew one thing for sure. His life was about to change forever. Just as he was about to close his eyes for a moment, the animal's eyes opened wide. They shone with a strange light, soft but powerful. Jack gasped. The creature looked at him not as an animal, but almost like a lost soul searching for hope. The night held its breath. Outside, the city lights flickered as if they were listening to Dot. Jack made a silent promise. No matter what happened, he would protect this mysterious being, because somewhere deep inside, he felt the truth. This was not just an animal. It was something far more important, something from beyond the stars. Morning light seeped softly through the curtains. The storm had passed, leaving the world outside quiet and washed clean. Inside his small apartment, Jack sat beside the strange creature. It rested on a pile of blankets, still weak but calmer than last night. Jack watched it closely. The glowing mark on its side pulsed gently, like a heartbeat. It was beautiful and mysterious. He did not know what to make of this being. Was it an animal? A visitor from another world? Something in between. Jack reached out slowly and touched the creature's fur. It was warm and smooth under his fingers. The creature did not move away. Instead, it lifted its head and looked at him with those deep, strange eyes. Jack felt something powerful in that gaze. It was like looking into a mirror, reflecting not just a living thing, but a story, one filled with pain, fear, and hope. The creature made a soft sound, almost like a whisper. Jack leaned in, trying to understand. "I won't hurt you," he said softly. "I want to help." Hours passed as Jack stayed by its side. He gave it water and a small meal. The creature ate slowly, its body still weak but alive. Jack noticed something strange. The creature sometimes looked at the window as if it expected something. Its eyes followed invisible movements outside. At one point, the creature's breathing changed. It became shallower, more difficult. Jack's heart pounded. He knew he had to do something. He grabbed his old radio scanner device used for emergencies. Jack wasn't sure why he kept it, but now it felt useful. He turned it on and began to search for any signals, any signs of something nearby. Static hissed through the speakers. Then suddenly, a strange pattern appeared. It was not a message he could understand, but it was unlike any radio signal from Earth. The sound was strange, almost like a song from another place. Jack frowned. What was this? He looked at the creature. It twitched and opened its eyes wide. Reacting to the sound, Jack felt a chill run down his spine. He remembered stories he had heard as a child, stories of other worlds, far beyond the stars. Could this creature be from one of those worlds? The thought made his head spin. Suddenly, the creature's eyes locked on his for a moment. Jack thought it tried to communicate something without words. The creature reached out and gently touched Jack's hand again. This time, the glow from the mark on its skin brightened. Jack swallowed hard. His mind raced with questions. Why was it here? Why did it need him? As the day went on, Jack searched for answers. He scoured old books and online archives. He looked for anything about glowing marks, strange creatures, or signals from space. Most of what he found was strange and confusing. But one thing stood out: a legend about a princess from a distant galaxy. The story told of a young alien princess who escaped her war-torn planet. She was said to hide in the form of a harmless creature, trying to survive far from home. Jack's heart skipped a beat. Could this be her? He looked back at the creature. It was still resting, but now there was a calm in its eyes, a tired peace. Jack wanted to believe he was protecting someone very important. Suddenly, the silence was broken by a sharp knock on the door. Jack froze. He looked toward the door, heart pounding. Who could it be? He quietly moved to the door and peered through the peephole. Outside stood a tall figure wearing a dark coat. Their face was hidden in the shadows. Jack's mind raced with suspicion. Was this person friend or foe? He stepped back and quietly closed the door. The knocking stopped. Silence returned. Jack knew this was only the beginning. Someone was looking for the creature. Someone who would not stop until they found it. Jack looked down at the creature. I won't let anything happen to you, he whispered. The creature's eyes met his again. For the first time, Jack felt a connection stronger than fear or confusion. It was trust. The days passed. The creature grew stronger. It began to move more, exploring the apartment carefully. Jack watched as it tested its own limits. Sometimes, the creature's hands would touch its glowing mark. When it did, Jack saw a faint shimmer spread across its skin, like magic. Jack wanted to understand this power, but the creature was still silent. One night, Jack sat beside it, feeling the weight of the unknown pressing down on him. He thought about the future, about the war this creature escaped, about the enemies that might follow, and about the strange bond growing between them. Two souls from different worlds connected by fate. Jack made a decision. He would protect this creature no matter what, because in her eyes, he saw not just an animal, but a princess, a symbol of hope and survival. And in that moment, Jack knew his life had changed forever. The mystery was only beginning. The night was quiet, but inside Jack's apartment, the air was heavy with tension. Jack sat close to the creature he had saved. She was still weak, but stronger than before. Her eyes shone softly in the dim light. For days, Jack had watched her. He felt an unspoken connection growing between them. Then, something unexpected happened. A sudden noise outside startled them both. Jack jumped to his feet, heart racing. The creature, too, shifted. Her breathing became uneven again. Jack rushed to the window and peeked out. He saw nothing but empty streets, bathed in moonlight. He turned back. The creature was trembling. Her chest heaved faster, and a sharp pain crossed her face. Jack's heart stopped. He reached out to steady her. Suddenly, the room filled with a strange glow. Jack blinked before him. The creature began to change. Her small furry form melted away like a mist. In her place stood a woman, tall and radiant, with glowing skin and eyes that sparkled like stars. Jack stared, speechless. The woman looked weak, breathless, but her presence was powerful. "I am not what you think," she said softly, her voice like a melody. Jack's mind raced to understand. Double quotes. Who are you?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. The woman took a shaky breath. "My name is Alara," she said. She paused, struggling for strength. "I am a princess from a distant galaxy. I was hiding in that form to escape my enemies." Jack's eyes widened. He looked at the glowing mark on her skin. Now, it was a beautiful symbol, like a badge of royalty. "I never wanted to frighten you," Alara continued, "but I had no choice." Jack sat down, still trying to process everything. He reached out and took her hand gently. "You don't have to hide anymore," he said. Alara smiled weakly. "Thank you," she whispered. For a moment, the room was filled with quiet understanding. Jack realized how much he cared for her already, but there was no time to waste. Alara explained her story in a low voice. Her planet was at war. She was the last hope of her people. Her enemies wanted to capture her, to control her power. She escaped in a ship, but it was damaged during the journey. She landed on Earth, barely alive. To survive, she changed into a small creature. Jack listened, carefully, his heart aching for her. He felt the weight of her loneliness and fear. Despite all this, she had survived. Jack knew she was brave beyond words. They talked late into the night. Alara told him about her world, the stars, the wars, the hope for peace. Jack shared stories of Earth, of simple life and dreams. Their worlds were different, but their hearts beat with the same hope. As the night deepened, Jack helped Alara rest. He watched her closely, feeling a deep protectiveness. In that quiet moment, something changed between them. A bond formed, strong and real. The next morning, Jack woke to find Alara sitting by the window, looking out at the sunrise. She looked peaceful, but he knew the danger was still near. Suddenly, His radio scanner crackled to life. A voice spoke in a language he did not understand. The signal was strong and close. Jack's heart pounded. Alara looked at him with tired eyes. "They have found me," she said softly. Jack's hand tightened around hers. "We will face them together," he said firmly. Alara nodded. Together, they began to prepare. Jack knew the coming days would test them both, but he also knew something else. No matter what, he would not let her face it alone, because now, she was not just a stranger from the stars. She was someone he cared for deeply, someone worth fighting for. The sun was setting, painting the sky in deep orange and red. Shadows stretched long across the city streets. Jack and Alara sat quietly in his small apartment. Outside, the world seemed calm. Inside, the air was thick with worry. They both knew danger was coming. The strange signal from the radio scanner had grown stronger. Their enemies were close. Alara rested on the couch, still weak but determined. Jack watched her, feeling a mix of fear and protectiveness. "We don't have much time," Alara said softly. "They are searching for me everywhere." Jack nodded. "We'll hide. We'll be careful." But hiding was harder than it seemed. Jack locked all the doors and windows. He checked the security cameras around his building. Still, the feeling of being watched never left him. Days passed. During the day, they stayed inside. At night they moved quietly through the shadows. Jack taught Alara about Earth, the small things, the sounds, the people. She listened with wonder, for a moment. The danger seemed far away, but it was always there, waiting. One evening, a knock came at the door. Jack's heart stopped. He held Alara's hand tightly. "Stay here," he whispered. He peeked through the peephole. Outside stood a woman. Her eyes were cold and sharp. She wore a black coat, and in her hand, she held a small device. Jack did not recognize her. The woman knocked again, louder this time. Jack's mind raced. He opened the door a crack. "What do you want?" he asked. Firmly, the woman smiled, but it was not friendly. "I am looking for someone," she said, "a princess from another world." Jack stepped back, closing the door quickly. He turned to Alara, alarm clear in his eyes. "They know," he said. Alara's face grew pale. "They are here," she whispered. They had to move. Jack packed a small bag with essential water, food, and the radio scanner. Alara helped, though her hands shook. Together, they left the apartment quietly. The city at night was strange and unfamiliar to Alara, but Jack guided her through empty streets and dark alleys. They avoided the main roads and stayed in the shadows, despite the fear. Moments of tenderness appeared. When Alara stumbled, Jack caught her gently. Their eyes met. For a brief second, the world outside disappeared. Two souls connected, sharing a quiet hope. But the danger was real. They reached an old warehouse on the edge of the city. It was a place Jack knew well, a forgotten spot where no one looked twice. They slipped inside, closing the heavy door behind them. The darkness was thick, but it felt safe. Alara rested against the wall. Jack sat beside her, pulling her close. "We'll get through this," he said softly. She nodded, tears in her eyes. "I trust you," she whispered. The night stretched long. Outside, footsteps echoed far away, but growing closer. Jack held Alara's hand tighter. He whispered promises he hoped to keep. They were not just hiding from enemies. They were fighting for a future where they could be free, together. The cold air of the warehouse felt sharp against Jack's skin. The shadows danced on the walls as moonlight filtered through broken windows. Jack sat close to Alara, watching her carefully. She looked tired but determined. Her glowing mark pulsed softly, like a heartbeat in the dark. For days, they had been hiding, moving from place to place, always looking over their shoulders. But now, Jack knew they had to do more than hide. He had to show Alara that she could trust him with her life. "Alara," Jack said gently, "I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." She looked up. eyes searching his face. "Trust is hard," she whispered. "I've lost everything. My home, my people. I don't know if I can trust anyone again." Jack nodded. "I know, but you don't have to face this alone." Alara reached out, her hand trembling. She took his hand in hers. For a moment, the fear melted away. They shared a silence filled with hope. But the danger was never far. Suddenly, a sound shattered the quiet, a soft scraping noise, coming from the far corner of the warehouse. Jack tensed, standing up slowly. Alara's eyes widened. "It's them," she said softly. Jack moved toward the noise, heart pounding. From the shadows stepped a man. He looked rough, with sharp eyes and a cruel smile. Jack could tell immediately he was no friend, looking for the princess. The man sneered. Jack stepped forward, blocking the path. "She's under my protection," Jack said firmly. The man laughed. You don't look like much." Jack's fists clenched, but he held his ground. "I'm stronger than I look," he said quietly. The man stepped closer, pulling out a strange weapon that hummed with power. Jack's eyes darted to Alara. She stood, glowing mark brightening. "I can help," she said. Together, they faced the threat. The man fired the weapon, but Alara moved quickly. She raised her hand, and a shield of light formed around them. Jack was amazed. The princess's power was real strong. The attacker recoiled, surprised and angry. Jack seized the moment. He grabbed a heavy pipe and charged. The fight was fierce, but brief. Jack's courage and Alara's power overwhelmed the man. When it was over, Jack stood, breathing hard. Alara smiled faintly. "You protected me," she said. Jack shook his head. "We protect each other." That night, they talked more openly than before. Alara shared stories of her worldly stars, the battles, the hope she carried. Jack listened, feeling closer to her than ever. They spoke of fears and dreams, of what it meant to trust again, and of the future they hoped to build. But trust was not easy. Jack wondered if he was enough to keep her safe. Alara wondered if she could open her heart to someone from another world. The night was full of questions, but also of promise. As dawn approached, they sat together quietly. Their hands found each other again. Jack felt the warmth of her touch. Alara felt a flicker of hope. They were not alone. They were a team. Together, they would face the battles ahead. Together, they would fight for a new beginning. The city lay under a blanket of night, the streets quiet, but tense. Jack and Alara knew that the enemy was closing in. They could feel it in the air, a silent threat, creeping closer with every passing hour. Inside their small hideout, the weight of what was to come pressed down on them. Alara's breath was still shallow. Her glowing mark pulsed faintly, weaker than before. Jack sat beside her, holding her hand tightly. "We can't run forever," Jack said softly. Alara looked into his eyes, full of fear, but also courage. "I know," she replied, "but I have a power inside me. If I use it, I might not survive." Jack shook his head, his voice firm. "We will face this together. You don't have to do it alone." But Alara's pain was clear. Her body trembled. She had already given so much. Suddenly, the walls of the hideout seemed to close in. A loud crash echoed outside. Jack jumped to his feet, heart pounding. The enemy had found them. Alara struggled to stand. Jack helped her up. They moved quickly, preparing for the fight ahead. Outside, shadows moved. Figures cloaked in darkness approached silently, but with deadly purpose. Jack and Alara stood back to back, ready. The air crackled with tension. The first attack came suddenly. Energy blasts lit up the night, striking the walls and ground around them. Jack dodged quickly, throwing punches and using whatever he could find to defend. Alara closed her eyes, gathering strength deep inside. Her glowing mark brightened, spreading light through her skin. A wave of energy burst from her hands, pushing back their attackers. But the power took its toll. Alara gasped, clutching her chest. Jack rushed to her, sighed. "You're hurting," he said, voice thick with worry. She nodded, struggling to stand. "I can't hold it much longer," she whispered. Jack made a decision. He took her hand firmly. "Use your power, Alara. I will protect you." Alara hesitated. "I don't want to lose you," she said. Jack smiled, pain and hope mixed in his eyes. "Then fight. Fight for us." With a deep breath, Alara unleashed her power fully. Light exploded from her, shining like a star fallen to earth. The enemies screamed, thrown back by the force. Jack fought fiercely, keeping the attackers at bay. The battle was brutal. The night was filled with sounds of struggle and courage. In the final moments, Jack saw one enemy breaking through toward Alara without thinking. Jack jumped in front, taking the blow meant for her. Pain exploded in his side, but Jack held firm. Alara cried out, rushing to him. Jack smiled weakly. "I'm okay," he said. But he was not. The sacrifice was real. Alara wrapped her arms around him, tears falling. "You saved me," she whispered. Jack shook his head. "We save each other." As the last enemy fled, silence returned. The battle was over. Jack and Alara sat together, breathless and bruised. But their bond was stronger than ever. They had faced death and fear, and survived. The night had tested them in ways they never imagined, but it had also shown them something more: love, hope, and the strength to keep fighting. The first light of dawn crept slowly through the cracks in the warehouse walls. Jack lay resting, his body battered, but his spirit strong. Alara sat beside him, her glowing mark dim but steady. The battle was over. The enemies had fled into the shadows, defeated for now. Jack opened his eyes and looked at Alara. She smiled softly, tired but hopeful. "We made it," she whispered. Jack nodded, double quotes, "yes, together." For a long moment, they sat in silence, the weight of everything they had faced settling around them. Alara looked at Jack with gratitude. "You saved me," she said quietly. Jack reached out, taking her hand gently. "We saved each other," he replied. The world outside was waking. Birds sang softly, and the city began to stir. But for Jack and Alara, time seemed to slow. They had found something rare, a connection deeper than words. Alara stood slowly, her strength returning. "I want to learn about your world," she said. Jack smiled, relief filling his heart. "And I want to help you find your place here." Together, they stepped outside into the morning light. The city looked different, now full of possibilities. Jack showed Alara the small joys of earth, the warmth of the sun, the sound of laughter, the feel of grass beneath their feet. Alara listened, her eyes wide with wonder. She was no longer just a princess from a distant galaxy. She was part of a new world, a world she would protect. Days turned into weeks. Jack and Alara worked together to heal and grow stronger. They shared stories, dreams, and quiet moments of joy. Their bond deepened into something beautiful and true. But the future was not without challenges. Alara knew her enemies might return. She also knew she was not alone. Jack stood by her side, ready to face whatever came next. One evening, as the stars began to shine, Alara looked up at the sky. "I am far from home," she said softly, "but maybe here. I have found a new family." Jack wrapped his arm around her. "We will face the stars together." Their eyes met, full of promise. Together, they were stronger than any enemy. Together, they were hoped. Together, they were a new beginning. The city. Lights flickered below, and somewhere far above, stars watched quietly. The story of the hurt creature, the brave man, and the alien princess was only just beginning, and humanity was ready to shine brighter than ever before.